Hello, 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 and happy Black History Month. I'm Black and it's Black History Month. And in honor of that, I wanted to share a testimony. If you've been looking at my Facebook, and if you have not, I am going back to college in August. I'm moving, God's willing. I'm planning to move to Atlanta, Georgia to go to college. With that being said, I wonder what college I will be going to. Well, that's why I'm here to share with you guys. After 15 years of attending my favorite college in Atlanta, Georgia, as a freshman in 2011, I wasn't able to stay at the time. I didn't get a co-signer. I ended up not having enough money to stay. I had to come back in state. And thus the college story, it took a lot of turns. Long story short, I ended up not finishing, but I'm going back to my favorite college in the whole world after all this time. And there's a story behind why I'm going back. I'll tell y'all that afterwards. But let's reveal what college I'm going to in Atlanta, Georgia. Keeping in mind it's Black History Month, right? Okay, so drum roll. Awkward. The illustrious Clark Atlanta University, y'all. So, y'all, I got my decision a couple of weeks ago, and I did get accepted, and I was so ecstatic, and I was so nervous when I was reading. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. Did they accept me? And they did. I was like 21 or 22 when I went because I started school late, and I got retained in kindergarten for being bad back in Georgia when I was little, so... Now, after 15 years, long story short, I'm going back. So right now, this is a letter I got from Clark Atlanta from the Office of Admissions, and I thought it would be great to open it in front of you guys, so I started already, but it says find a way or make a way, and I'm so excited. I'm going back to my favorite HBCU in the world. And after 15 years, I will be back at Clark Atlanta, August 2025, y'all. So I already know I got accepted, but I just wanted to kind of see what this said, and I thought it would be cool to share this moment with you guys so I can look back on it in history. And I'm going for early childhood education. So at the time I was a freshman, I got up to all the way to like a senior in college, still didn't finish. But when I go back there, I'll be transferring. So I don't know. Oh my gosh, I don't know like whether I'll be a sophomore. I'm thinking I'll be a sophomore because, again, I'm transferring in and they don't accept all the credits from out of states. And I did most of my credits in Texas, but I don't know. So I won't know until I find out. But it says, dear Zakira, congratulations on behalf of President Dr. George T. French and the faculty and staff of Clark Atlanta University. I am pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Clark Atlanta University as a new transfer student with a major in elementary education for fall 2025. Get a shot, my Black people. And we are winning, baby. It's Black Mecca in Atlanta, and that's one reason I'm excited about going back to Clark particularly in Atlanta, Georgia. There's a lot of Black entrepreneurs, a lot of Black excellence, a lot of Black success. And that's something in Dallas I feel is missing. I feel like in Dallas, pertaining to Black successful people, and I feel like there's a lot of jealousy over the spirit of Dallas. But in Atlanta, it's like, no, we're going to do this together as far as the Black elite. Clark Atlanta University holds a unique place in the annals of African American history. And it's crazy because I wanted to switch my major to history 7 through 12 to be a secondary high school history teacher. But with Clark Atlanta, they didn't have the major. So I said, I'll just stick with what I started with, elementary education. And then once, hopefully, God's when I get my degree in that, take the test separately to try to get certified as we're not trying anything. We're going to do it in Jesus' name to get certified as a high school history teacher. Because dealing with what I went through in the Army and that whole thing, it made me realize the youth and young people and even millennials like me, we need mentors. We need mentors. Building on its social justice heritage, CAU is a culturally diverse, research-intensive liberal arts institution that prepares and transforms the lives of students. With 38 states and 10 countries making up our student body, it is committed to increasing the diversity on campus and delivering education. Well, it says 10 countries. and delivering education that is accessible, relevant, and transformative. We look forward to working with you as you discover the challenging programs, curricula, faculty, staff, and students that contribute to the spirit that is Panther Pride. I'm so excited, y'all. I feel like I'm 19, 20, however old I was when I first went to Clark and I was a freshman. I did not want to leave. I went through a lot. I had some friends that left me, but I loved Clark. I just love the spirit of Black excellence and Black success. Back then, the Black kids used to walk around in their little business outfits. We was ready to be that. And that's what I love about Clark. The spirit of Black excellence just hovers over the CAU, the Clark, the Spelman, the Morehouse. And I miss that. So even at my little old 33, I'm excited to go back in there, baby. I'm going to lose some weight, and I promise you I'm going to be looking like the rest of them little 20-year-olds. Even though I'm 30, I'm excited to go back and be amongst my young Black people and to thrive and to this time finish my degree. Now, it's giving me my ID number. It's giving me my PIN number. And then it tells me how to confirm my space and all that. So the testimony is this time I don't have to use financial aid. I don't have to worry about having a co-signer or anything like that, because the Army, as I am a veteran, as you know, that whole situation took place, and they tried to hit me upside the head, but God still turned it around, and the Army is paying for 100% of my college, my schooling, and at that, I get a stipend every month. So not only are they paying for my education, but I will also be receiving a stipend to go to school and while I'm getting my education. And so, won't He do it? God is just good on so many levels. God is so great. When I lost my Army career, that hit me like a ton of bricks. It let me know, okay, I got to work on myself, but I still don't think it should have went this way. But how many of you know that even when the devil mean it for evil, even when people try to out you, I know I take responsibility. I know I got a mouth, but baby, it's a whole bunch of people in there with a mouth. Okay, it's a whole bunch of stuff that didn't really go so right. But at the end of the day, even after all that, and even after people tried to out me and wanted to see me fall or be homeless, and I was homeless and all that, and even took my GI Bill, God still turned it around. So this program right here that I'm in, if you have 10% of disability, you get your school paid for. They pay for 100% of your program. I think it's chapter 31 or something. Well, I'm at 100%. So look at God. Look at Jesus. Won't He do it? I wanted to share that testimony because when I was in the Army dealing with the stuff I was dealing with, I let them know, hey, at the time I wanted to be a nurse. And then when I seen how they put me out, didn't go through my trial, didn't take my letters of recommendation, all the females of my age. And to me, it was like some messiness, a little bit of intimidation, just outing me because they can, because I don't fit in the clique, because I don't kiss booty. Something that just, oh, well, she don't fit in, oh, well, we can do this. Oh, she wear her hat. Like, it was just little stuff and dumb stuff that made me realize, hey, I want to be a high school teacher. I want to work with high school kids, because this is what they do with the urban youth. They always mislabeling. And then, unfortunately, sometimes within young minorities or young people and young females of the same age, there's always competition. Sometimes there's jealousy. Sometimes there's just this mean competitive spirit. And sometimes they can just out you whether you deserved it or not, knowing that they got a mouth just like you. They got attitude just like you. And I wasn't popping off and getting an attitude with people like randomly or just because. It was like my first sergeant, he would cuss at me sometimes. And I would tell him, hey, I'm saved. Can you not do that? Well, I'm not. And he never listened. And he would always take my roommate at the time, her side. And I just went through some stuff. And I said, they was like, well, you can't, don't worry. I was like, well, I just, I see that they write me up because sometimes I put my PC on wrong, or sometimes I forget to put my button on, or sometimes my what do you call that? Like whether you're PFC or whatever, that's like upside, just little stuff that I may need to like take time to get right. And I'm like, I want to make sure, she was like, you don't have to worry about it because there's certain things that have to be done before somebody just puts you out. I had already said that, and I was only with them for 2 months. They was like, you got to go through therapy. I had just signed up for therapy. I had only went 3 or 4 times. She was like, it's got to be a year therapy before we can even put you out. It's going to be certain stuff. So we're not just trying to put you out. And lo and behold, 2 months later, it happened. And then they was like, we taking your GI Bill. And that's important because I told them, I'm trying to be a nurse. I said before I wanted to be a teacher, but I lost my mom and grandma. So it's like, you already put me out. I think that's a lot when you don't have to, because mind y'all, I had came back from vacation and I let my sergeant under my staff sergeant know, and he told me I don't have to go to her. He said, go to me. You don't go directly to her, and I'll communicate it. Lo and behold, he didn't. She called me, telling me, I'm disappointed. I got there. She was like, you didn't sign in. I said, nobody even told me about the process of signing in. And I already told him I would be late. I'm riding Greyhound. I said, they had a whole shootout. She didn't care. She was like, I am blocking you from re-enlistment. The next day, she called the colonel and she was like, you also getting the Article 15. And I promise you, it had to be like 3 weeks later. And it was just like little stuff. Like, oh, your PCO wrong. Oh, you did this. So it was so tight, like dumb stuff. And she was like, oh, yeah, we just going to recommend you for a separation. So it was dumb stuff like that I feel like sometimes females just out each other just because they can. If you don't fit in the in crowd, maybe there's intimidation, maybe you just ain't that type of person, or maybe y'all bump heads, and instead of saying let's move you to this unit or let's put you here, it was just like, even when I did good, I felt like it wasn't good enough for her. And then the ma'am went ahead and she took me out of the office. I stayed with them for a month and I was doing well, and I had to switch roommates because the roommate I was with was very disrespectful. She had like cursing music. She had a pumpkin. I don't celebrate Halloween. I asked her to put it up, and she just wouldn't comply. So I was like, y'all just please move me out the room. They did. I ended up moving to a room, and this girl was like, she was on some bully type stuff. We ended up getting into a fight or whatever. So the colonel used that to be like, well, only because she got into a fight and she struck. That girl was a, what do you call that? What is it? A special? What is it called? One rank above the PFC. What is it called? It starts with an S. I forgot though. And because she struck special or whatever her name was multiple times, we going, only because of that, we going, kick her out. And I'm like, oh man, get the heck out of here. The girl was a whole bully. I had to defend myself. And they was like, that's why we told you not to move, because some of these girls, we knew you'd probably get into a fight. And I'm like, I'm not staying in a room with that young lady, And I was about to pray, but things happen in life. So y'all, long story short, I got put out. They put me out. Wasn't no trial. Wasn't no taking my letters of recommendation. When I tried to turn them in, I had like 12. I had a lot of veterans that were trying to vouch for me. And they were just like, no, sorry, it's too late when I turned them in. And I felt like they were just trying to play me. Like, they did a lot of stuff, but it came back to bite them in the tail, like literally, because I got 100% for wrongful displacement out the Army off of that alone. And then for anxiety and everything. So it came back to bite them in the butt. And man, I was just hoping I would just get 10% or something for like tinnitus, like popping in the ear, just something, because I was homeless and I was struggling. I was like, I went in there to be somebody, and I was trying to go to officer cadet school to be a lieutenant. My sergeant took that away the same week. She hit me with that, I'm blocking you for re-enlistment. That's already enough. You mess on somebody's career. Then the next day, I promise you, the next day she hit me with an Article 15 where you got to stay after work for like 2 weeks and clean up. And it was just like, she was so dictatorish. But with my other coworkers, they could go missing for hours, and they would just be like, oh, they have kids or whatever. She'd be like, where they are? And I was like, she'd be like, where are they? And I'd be like, they went to get their kids or something, because that's what they would tell me. She didn't care. But with me, just little tiny stuff, she wrote me up for dumb stuff. But I forgot what I was saying. She also took my BSEP class away. I was scheduled to go to BSEP when I had transferred to her unit. And she was already hitting me with a lot of stuff for like small stuff. And I said, well, just please don't take my BSEP away. I'm trying to go to officer cadet school. And then when I sat down with her, the ma'am and the first sergeant, they said, no, we know how you feel about that. We want you to go. They end up taking that away. And this is all for the same event, for me going to that college thing. And then a lieutenant, a Caucasian lieutenant, who I feel like was kind of racist, gave me a hard time for having my PC on wrong. He went and talked to her, and she gave me I don't know if that's what she gave an Article 15 for, or during that time, is that what she took my she was like using dumb stuff to take away everything. So she ended up taking away my BSEP class. And then the last thing they did was they took away my what do you call that? GI Bill. So that means not only am I putting you out, because people, just because you get out the Army, you can get put out for smoking weed. They will put you out for smoking weed. Like, people have weed addictions, marijuana, they'll put you out for that. So it don't have to be nothing really bad. You can get put out for being overweight. I had a friend there that was really nice, and they put him out for being overweight. And a couple of us were together, and it was for stuff like that. So for me, when they told me, they was like, we're considering separating you for failure to adapt. You're often late. Sometimes you say stuff you shouldn't. Sometimes your PC is on wrong. Maybe, we're considering, but we can still change our mind. But later on, after all that, they was like, we're going to go ahead and separate you. Then that last time, so y'all, I was like, separating me is enough, because I already feel like y'all don't have to do that. I feel like that's some female type stuff. And the first sergeant, the Caucasian man, he just went on along with it. But I feel like there was some old school people, like the old school sergeant major, but he left. He was a black dude. I would have been okay, but I feel like because they all were my age, in their early 30s, late 20s, they were being like messy. I didn't fit in. I don't kiss booty. I'm different. but I still was a good soldier. I'm just not the type to kiss up or stuff like that. Anyway, I feel like that was the ultimate blow. Like, not only are we putting you out and you could be homeless, we don't care, but we taking your GI bills to make sure you don't go to school as well. So I'm like, oh, Lord. And I remember just crying out in the hospital one night, sleeping in the emergency room, having all this anxiety. Like, why am I going through all this? And turned around and got falsely accused at the veteran shelter in Boston. They told me, oh, you filming somebody, we got to put you out. The same day they made me get out. I mean, I had been through a lot of hell, just attack after attack. Some of it's lying, just people making up. People don't understand you. Sometimes they'll see you dressed up and they'll say, how she dressed up and she homeless. So I feel like that was a lot of it for as far as that shelter. But y'all, I went to the very bottom. I was homeless. I had nothing. I was even sleeping at the airport in Boston. And I just remember hearing one of the people at the veteran shelter be like, just, what does it hurt to apply for disability? So I said, let me just go apply. And I'm like, Lord, let me at least get 10%. If anything is better, anything is something when you're homeless, right? Just something. Man, after all that, they put me out sleeping at the shelter. I had went ahead and applied. Right across the street, there was somewhere for you to apply. I applied and everything. That was a smooth process. And I just said, Lord, let me get something, at least 10% or something. Y'all, I'm just hoping for something. And I turned around and 4 or 5 weeks later, I was talking to this nice African man at the Dunkin' Donuts in Boston, right across the street from the veteran shelter that put me out. I was getting some breakfast, and he said, well, check your account. Let's see if you got the decision yet. And I said, no, that's not. Before that, I went to the hospital, and I said, it was like 2 months or a month and a half by then. I said, I just want to check on the decision. Did I get approved for any disability? And I'm just thinking to myself, they ain't giving me nothing up here. I ain't getting nothing. It's finna be a no. And I thought I was just finna be out. Like, I was just so used to being rejected and put out and at the nothing. So when the Hispanic man was like, yeah, it looks like according to this, you did get some. As a matter of fact, you got 100%. And in my head, I'm like, no, this must be a joke. He's trying to see how I'm going to react. And I was like, let me just play cool, because that can't be right. I know he's trying to play me. And he said, no, it looks like you have 100%. And I just still played it cool. But in my head, I'm like, what? He said, now you can go back to Texas and do what you need to do. And y'all, when I realized that was the truth, I was thanking God, because I was going through some hell. Even at the little veterans hospital when I was homeless, the people were treating me crappy and all this stuff. But he looked at it and I was like, what? And he read it to me. And then after that, shortly a week or two, he said that at the time that the Hispanic man told me it take like a week or two before they give you your back pay. So those weeks went by and I was at the Dunkin' Donuts, and this African man was like, check your account. It could be there. And lo and behold, $23,000 was like in my bank account. And when you go from nothing and never had not money like that to $23,000, I was like, look at God. So at the time, I had got a little job at in Boston while I was homeless. I was finally able to get a job working for the train station. They pay you like $20 an hour, and it was a pretty good job, but I was homeless, so I really didn't have nowhere to live. So I would just like sleep at the airport and try to brush my teeth, take a little wash off, and then go to work. And so it really started wearing at me. So the money hit at the right time. And I was like, oh, now I can pay off this $6,000, because when I joined the Army, I didn't tell my apartments I left, and now I owe this. And he was like, no, go to work. So I kept going to work for a while, but then I had to quit. And I was like, listen, I got to stop this job. I had to retire, and I have to go back to Texas and try to get myself together now that I have some income. So that's what I did. And God is good. And then my friend told me about this program that this Caucasian man had, where they approve you for the college tuition through disability. So it's different from the GI Bill. It's chapter 31. And there's a few more of them. There's so many different programs through the Army or through the forces. And so I was like, okay, let me apply. Then I got the decision and said, you're approved. I said, look at God. So when I got approved, I said, okay, Lord, what school do I go to? Now that I'm approved and they can pay for my tuition, this is a dream come true. Because before, when I was in Texas just working at Walmart and Amazon, I remember talking to God, like, please give me one more chance to go to school. Because when I did have the money to, I think, pay off something, I was giving it to this guy I was talking to online that stayed in Dubai. And I guess I was getting used, but I didn't know. I had just lost my mom. I was vulnerable. So long story short, I was like, Lord, please just give me another chance to go to school. I want to go to school. And I feel like after all this, by the grace of God, no goodness of my own, surely no goodness of my own, but by the grace of God, he's made a way. And so long story short, I got approved of that program. So I was like, Lord, what school should I go to? And that same night, I had a dream. I kid y'all not. I had a dream where, in the dream, it was like dark. And I just seen all these people walking I don't know if they was young people, but I just seen all these, the back of people walking, and the back of all their jackets said Clark Atlanta University. All of them. And it was dark, and it was just all these people walking with these Clark Atlanta jackets on, and I just saw the back, and it was just Clark Atlanta, the jackets. All the people had on Clark Atlanta jackets, like they was, you know, just walking up a street or something, and I just had that vision. And all the jackets in that vision with the people from the back said Clark Atlanta University. And then I also was like, Lord, what state am I supposed to be in? And shortly after that vision, I had a vision of Texas. So I was thinking to myself, I woke up and I was like, okay, so in the dream, it was almost like you was saying, okay, go to Clark, get your degree, get your education, whatever you do. And then you got to come back to Texas. So I'm thinking maybe I'm called to Texas for some reason. I feel like maybe I'm called to Dallas to teach or whatever, but I don't know, because to be honest, I feel so alone down here. I feel like I need to move to a different state, but I also feel like I may be called to work with kids and teenagers down here. That would be the only reason why I stay, because right now I need a church home, and that part is really not coming together for me. And so, but I know one thing for sure. I knew I could make a difference for the youth down here, and everything that happened with my uncle. If y'all know, you know. It really gave me passion to work with ninth graders so they won't drop out, so they won't get involved in the streets, so they won't become a statistic. I have a passion to work with young men and young women, just because I seen what happened to my uncle, and it happens to a lot of young black males and the urban youth period, young black females too, but everybody in the urban society. So that's how I got the vision. So when I had that vision, I woke up like, I must have been tripping. I said, I must just been tripping, because when I used to go to Clark, I used to love my Clark Atlanta jacket. So I said, I must be just having a flashback. I don't know what that was. And I was like, but I wasn't even paying attention. I was like, I still got the jacket. I might have glimpsed at it, but I wasn't even looking at it. Like, I wasn't even thinking like that. Cause I was like, well, I'm going to go to a Christian school now, really try to. And I would try to go to some Christian school that turned out to be a cult down here. And so I was like, ooh, that didn't work out. That was after the fact. But at the time, I was like, I must be tripping, because I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, and conservative, and you trying to tell me, the Lord trying to tell me to go to Atlanta, Sodom and Gomorrah, sanctified, conservative. Me was like, no, I gotta be tripping. I gotta just be seeing that. So that's why I brushed it out, like, no, I must be tripping. That can't be right. Why would the Lord want me to go to Atlanta when He knows there's so much sin up there? And I really not talking about the school, even though college kids do it, but it more so like the spirit over the city. And so I was like, no, I brushed it off for that reason. I was like, that can't be right. Why would He want me to go there when it's like that? And then later on, I thought about it. I was like, maybe that's why He want me to go there. And then also because there, I've been through some stuff where I've been through some jealousy with teachers that weren't my color, maybe some intimidation. And there I don't have to worry about somebody failing me because of my color, because of my motivation to be a black teacher, because of my enthusiasm, because of the way I talk. I had a white teacher tell me at one of these schools, oh, you were too excited, so you discouraged the other students from answering the question because you were too excited about it. I was like, that's some dumb stuff that only those old school whites that try to play like they're Christian but really still racist, they say stuff like that to black people like me that's enthusiastic, that's excited about learning. They're going to tell you was too excited, so you was the one that made them not say nothing. No, your class is boring to them. They don't really care about you. And I was interested because I love learning. I love history, anything to do with it. So I was answering, but she wanted to blame me. So one of the things that I feel like I wouldn't have to worry about it at Clark is somebody failing me because I'm a black girl that's excited about learning, because there's this whole spirit up there, black excellence. It's the black Mecca. Like, we want you to be black and be great and be excellent and be successful. That's what Clark and Morehouse and Spelman stand for. They are pushing the youth to go be somebody. And that's what I miss. And even though it's 15 years later, your girl gonna be up in there like she 18, 19, 20, 21 all over again, baby. Okay. I'm only 33 now. I might be a little older, delayed but not denied, but I'm excited about going there because I feel like there they will motivate me. And even though I'm older, as long as I go to work, I feel like I will be, what's that word called? It's a word for it, y'all. Where they take the youth and they encourage you, they feed into you, but it's a word for it. Like they're gonna mentor you. They're gonna feed you. It's a word. They're gonna nourish you to be great. No, it's older people. You got people. You got some people going to grad school. You got some older people coming back to school to finish. You always gonna have a mix, but it's always gonna be predominantly young. But they're gonna nurture you. They're going to mentor this. They're gonna foster this atmosphere of wanting to see Blacks and anybody else that want to come for that matter, because we always welcome it, but especially our own, they're wanting to foster this atmosphere of, okay, here you can be great and it's okay. Here you can learn and it's okay. Here you might be excited and you might talk loud, but we understand us. So they're fostering that atmosphere where you feel welcome and it's a healthy environment, and I don't have to worry about somebody failing me because of how I look or because of how I talk or because of my excitement or because of whatever the case may be in some of these other scenarios. And I'm not saying it's always that way. It's not always that way, but sometimes it is. So here I feel like there's this fostered atmosphere for Blacks to be successful in Atlanta, and it is. It's the Black Mecca. It's the Black capital for Black excellence. So I'm excited about going back to Clark for that. And yeah, I just wanted to share that, and I wanted to share the testimony, just in case, just in case those people that said, kick her out, let her be homeless, let her sleep under the bridge. And I went through a lot of hell, but after all of that, God took what y'all meant to hurt me and he turns it around. 100%. And with that being said, I want to pray for those. Y'all keep the veterans in prayer that actually they really have went over to wars and they can't even get 30-40%. So I know it's only the grace of God. And like when they be calling me a veteran, I say I'm not worthy because I didn't even get to finish my 4 years. I don't feel like I should have been kicked out. I know I shouldn't have been kicked out. I know there was some female messy stuff. We all the same age. It's like, to me, it felt like some high school stuff. And then the first sergeant, he could have been the voice of reckoning, but I feel like he just went with the crowd. But I do want to pray for those veterans that actually do deserve 100% and they only got like 10-20% and they're missing limbs and they've actually served in wars, and some of them, they have like PTSD. Me, I do have anxiety. I don't really trust people before I went in, and then when I went in and went through something, it became worse, and then when they put me out, the rejection just became worse. So it's real, but it's people out there that deserve it and they can't even get 30, 40, 50%. So we need to pray for them to get it. But I just came on here to let y'all know, sometimes when you go through stuff and people out you because you're the black sheep, or because they don't like you for whatever reason, or because you're different, maybe you don't fit in, maybe you don't kiss up, you just don't fit in like that. That doesn't mean you have to fire somebody and put them out. You can say, hey, move it to a different unit. Okay, let's try this department. I heard an older person say that. I heard a pastor say that. He said, before I would have to fire somebody, I would always see where else I could put them. I didn't just fire them. And then if I fired them, I would pay them 3 months in advance. And I said, people ain't going to do all that. And I said, but that's a person of honor, a person of integrity, and a person of dignity. Not just somebody trying to use their power because they feel a little intimidation, or because you don't fit in, or because of what you could be. Because I remember when I said, oh, I want to be a lieutenant, I remember my sergeant be like, oh, yeah, I was thinking about doing it. And I just feel like there was this kind of between us. And she never really got a chance to know me like that. I feel like deep down inside, she was intimidated by what I could have been. So she didn't want me to reach that. So she outed me, and she was not black. She was what y'all call brown. But I think she was just a hater of me. There was all of us in there was black. Like, she was the only Hispanic lady. It was a white lady, and everybody working for them was black. 2 other black girls. One was biracial, but, still considered black. And the other, black young men. But I'm dealing with some stuff, and I've been outed by people, and I've dealt with racism. So the fact that she did that, put me out, that already added to that. But the one that signed off on it was a black lady. So it still added to that whole me not trusting females, me being outed by different people. And, it added to that. But it also shows you that even when people mean evil, or even when people do stuff they don't have to, somebody say, well, maybe they meant well. Because I remember asking my mom, like, why y'all doing this? Like, I want to stay in. She's like, do you really belong here? I don't know if they were saying just because they feel like I got a mouth sometimes, I lose my temper sometimes. I feel like that's the army. Like, at the end of the day, you could have moved me over to combat. I could have blew up some stuff in Iraq or something. Like, there was no way you had to throw me out. Like, there's so many things I could have done. It's so much inside of me that I could have given to the American army and to protect my country, but you just outed me. And so I just want to let somebody out there know that if you have been cheated, and no, I know we're not perfect, and I do take responsibility for at times maybe getting too loud or losing my temper, but it was nothing where you had to put me out. It just wasn't. It was a time where I just walked by my sergeant. She just called me out my name in front of everybody. Then she was looking crazy, and they were looking at her because they knew she knew she shouldn't have did. And I said, first sergeant, she said this. Well, both of y'all was wrong. I said, how was I wrong? And I just walked by, and she called me out my name, but she trying to put me out, acting like I'm so ghetto or I'm so this. And she just called me out my name. I said, she's supposed to be a sergeant first class. I'm just a PFC. Shouldn't she be an example? And if she gonna be putting me out, shouldn't she at least be the example that, hey, this is what you do. How you putting me out trying to act like I'm so this, and I just walk by you and you call me out my name. So my point is, when you've been cheated and when people do stuff that they mean for your bad, God can turn it around by his grace, no goodness of my own, because I've learned by some of my mistakes. But I also know that sometimes life just gonna life and people gonna be people. And even when they cheat you, certain situations, he can still step in. He gonna do what he want to do and turn it around for your good. And that's what he did. And even after all of that, gave me 100% after they kicked me out trying to give me nothing, and was like, oh yeah, you can go, because they knew I was homeless. I was like, they ain't they heartless. They knew I didn't have family. They knew I don't rock with my family like that. They knew I lost my mom. They knew I was trying to go back to school at the time to be a nurse. I was like, dang. And then to take my GI Bill. And so they was like, I just remember the other veteran that worked with the supply, he was like, you want to try to get a general or honorable discharge, Bradley? That's the goal. So he was like, what discharge did you get? I said, I got a general, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. White. And he was a good man. He said, Bradley, you got to get it together, Bradley. You got it. He was like a dad to me in there. They would send me over there at time to work with him. And I was like, dang, after all this, I should have just been a chaplain assistant. I said, that's why I give it trying to be like everybody else. Because I was like, I can be a chaplain assistant, God love the Lord. But I was like, I want something where even if I get the Army, I can do it. So that's why I went into HR, which was really a good job. I just got the wrong, it was the wrong unit. I picked the wrong thing, but that's okay. I picked the wrong person. So he gave me the opportunity to even pick when I first came over there. Because I had left from this other lady. I thought, she too ghetto. She don't want me to go to BSEP. I should have stayed right there. Should have stayed right there. I probably would have still been in. But he moved. He said, pick between her and this man. Should have picked that other man. But I picked her. But that's all right. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this story up. What am I saying? So I'm just letting y'all know that even after all that, God can turn it around. You know, of course, I got the 100%. And I can still work because it's for wrongful displacement, which means they shouldn't have put you out. And then anxiety. And then with this opportunity, I'm able to go to college and the Army, after all, even with them taking my GI Bill, they're going to pay for it. So to my Sergeant Callahan, the one that wrote me up to be separated from the Army, although I didn't want to be. I wanted to serve my term, and I was even thinking about doing 20 years, but you kicked me out. I want you to know, if you see this, or if somebody on here in the Army knows Sergeant Callahan that was at 316 Calf Brigade in Fort Benning, that is now, I think, Fort Moore, just tell her I forgive her. And, you know, God has really turned that thing around for me. And humbly, I say this, I have no hate towards you. I want to thank you for encouraging me, because if you would have never kicked me out and did what you did on some bull crap, I would have never knew that I need to work with the youth, because people do that same bull you do every day to the youth. They want to be a hypocrite and they want to hate on people, or they want to, just because they don't know, maybe because they don't get along or whatever the case may be, they want to say, oh, let's fire you. Oh, no, you don't deserve this. When they know that we all got some issues, but you want to look down and you want to put somebody out and play with their life. If you would have never did that, I would have never knew that I need to work with high school kids. So I can tell them not to go out there and join the gang. So I can tell them not to drop out of high school to be somebody, that it don't matter where you come from or who you are, or if you got a temper. There are things you can do to turn that negative energy into good energy, to be somebody. You can go be a drill sergeant in the Navy. See, it's something you can, I know how to mentor. And see, that's where you fell short, but I forgive you. But I just want you to know that God turned it around for me. What you meant for bad, he turned it around. Not only did I get 100%, but they paying for my school for me to finish and get my degree, and they going to give me a stipend every month. See, I need somebody to know that what that devil meant for bad, or what that person in their fleshliness, you know, and for whatever reason, outing you, because I've always been the black sheep. I've always been picked on. I've always been rejected by people. God can turn that around and work it all the way out for you good. So this time, I want to go back to Clark with my mindset on finishing my degree and not letting nothing stop me. And I mean, I'm older now, so there's really no distractions. I just want to get my degree. I want to be a teacher so I can get my degree in early childhood education, and hopefully go back and take I think you just take a test and they give you a book, whatever, and get certified in secondary history. And I would like to get my master's in probably black history or something too, because I also wanted to major in, like I said, history. So maybe I can get my master's in black history or something. Now, where else to do that than Black Mecca in Atlanta? You know, it's like, we popping up there. And we going to do one thing about Clark and the CAU Center and Morehouse and Spelman, baby. We are for black excellence. We're going to teach that black history. We're going to teach our youth to be somebody. And I think Dallas needs more of that. So I feel like that's why I'm called to Dallas, to go and get nurtured and fostered up there and to bring it back here. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be ugly to nobody else, because that's not it, because God is love. We all God's children. So like, I believe in black owned businesses, and I believe that I can have a black owned business where I'm just working with Black Mecca and Black Utopia. But I'm also gonna make sure that's not my only business where I'm just working with my people. I'm gonna have a black business and it's just us working. And I'm gonna also have 4 other businesses where it's all of me working with all of God's children, the whites, the Jews, the Hispanics, the Asians, because God is love. I'm all for black businesses. Yes, I'm gonna have my finger. I will have me a black business. I'm also gonna have 4 other businesses where I'm dealing with everybody in the world, because baby, I want everybody's money and I know how to work with everybody's money. And because heaven is a representation of all of God's children, it is multicultural and multiple ethnicities. And so I'm gonna have businesses where I work with everyone, and then I'm gonna have one for my people where I'm educating my own, but then I'm gonna have one for all of God's children, and then I'm gonna have one for just Christians of every race. You know, you have to be you have to have wisdom, business minded like that, where, see, if I'm just limiting myself to my race, whatever that is for anybody, you're limiting yourself from money and from opportunities just because somebody don't look like you. So if you want to have a business with just your people or your race, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not racist. Like if you at a McDonald's and you just want to serve your people, that might be a problem. But if you just want to have like a business, like a market where it's just a black market where you're dealing with, that's okay. But as a Christian, I can't just work with my own people. As a child of God, I got to work with everybody. So I'm going to have a black business, but you best believe I'm going to have 4 other businesses where I'm working with Jews, Asians, Hispanics, Indians, and cross-cultural. And then I'm going to have Christian businesses of all ethnicities. Then, you know, so my point is, I'm not limiting my money. I'm not limiting my opportunities, and I'm not limiting my relationships just based off of people that look like me. I'm going to have one for that, and I'm all for motivating and encouraging my people, but I'm going to have one for all of God's children as well, as it should be, because heaven is multicultural, and it's also different ethnicities. We're God's children. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with y'all. Happy Black History Month. This is Black History Month, so happy Black History Month to my black people. Black conservatives, we in that thing. So this ought to be interesting. So I would say lucky for you, but I don't believe in luck. But interestingly enough for you guys, if you know me like that, if you know, you know, I think it'll be interesting to watch me in Atlanta, because I know that Atlanta is it's a lot going on. And as a saved young lady and conservative, I'm probably going to see some stuff. But my mind is to go up there, to finish my degree, to get educated, to get that black excellence, to get fostered. And I pray God put the right mentors. And I love being around black older women and black older men, because they pour into us, you know. And so that's my mind, and whatever else God has in store for me. But Black History Month, happy Black History Month. I need somebody out there to know it doesn't matter who outed you, what somebody meant for wrong. It don't matter how they try to scheme and how they try to take it back. What God has for you is for you. And even if they do, God just going to let you win the lottery after that. He just going to, every time somebody try to take something from me, God just give me something greater. Literally, when they fired me from Walmart wrongfully during COVID, he blessed me with Amazon like 2 weeks later. And they had just blessed me where you get like money a month, $800 a month. But I'm not used to that. My mama taught me how to work, so I let it go. And then when I had food stamps like once or twice, I get it, load up, and just let it go. Because my mama taught me to work for what you want, work for what you need. So I let out, I was like, I'm going back to work. Then I got Amazon. Then when that ended up losing that after 10 months because of my commute, and that was late. Then I joined the Army. When they wrongfully put me out of that, he was like, okay, I'm going to bless her with this. So he's showing people that's out there watching my life, I am God of her life. She needs to work on her mouth. She needs to work on self-control, and I'm working on these things. But I'm still God of her life. People don't hold your destiny. And when God knows people's heart too. He know what they say when you're not there. He know how they be talking about some of these saints, especially people like me. He know. And sometimes he'll get them. Sometimes he'll wait a while. He'll get them time to get right. But he vindicated me speedily. And I ain't bragging on me, because I ain't worthy of nothing. I'm a dog. I am like a vapor of wind. The Bible say humans are here today, gone tomorrow. I'm nothing. God is everything. In God, I live, move, and have my being. But I'm bragging on God because, like I said, as far as in the social setting, school, like every time I'm out away from my mom has passed on. I was always loved with my mom. But when I went out, I was always rejected. It was always why she walked like that, why she talked like that from my own people, certain people, not all of them. I was always rejected. I couldn't find a place. And even when I was in high school, I went to an art school. Some of the white kids wanted me to be like a plastic or a ritzy, but that wasn't me. I wasn't an Oreo. So I couldn't find my place. Like I I couldn't find my place. And I was like, where do I belong? But it was just because God had his hands on me. I'm very like colorful in personality. I'm very artsy, but I was also very Pentecostal and very saved, and like the Holy Spirit was still pursuing me even before I totally surrendered. But I just need somebody to know that God is able and that he loves you. And no matter what you're going through, how you messed up, God can help you and deliver you. If you're working with anger, if you're working with, if you need help with self-control, if it's forgiveness, if it's bitterness, if you've been raped, if you've been molested, if you've been bullied, if you've been beat up, if you used to go to school and they would put you in a trash can to talk about you like a dog, or whatever the case may be, that God can turn your situation around. And if you give it to him, he can give you beauty for ashes. He can take that thing that the devil meant to take you out of here to kill you and turn it around and make it for your good, to the point where you mentoring the youth, where you're mentoring teens, where you're going to places and talking to people that deal with alcohol or dealt with being raped or dealt with being bullied, and letting them know, hey, God did it for me, he can do it for you. And then just helping them through these things, both spiritually, especially if you're Christian, and physically with the things, sometimes, hey, let's go walking, let's go exercising, let's meet up and have a book club. It's ways of doing this. And then working with the youth, hey, we're going to take y'all to this HBCU. We're going to Hampton University. We're going to Howard. We're going to Clark. Y'all need to know it's life outside of Bankhead. It's life outside of Oak Cliff. It's life outside of Memphis. Y'all need to see the black doctors, the black nurses. Y'all need to go to Atlanta and see all the black entrepreneurs, the black real estate. Like, we got to do stuff like that. But that's only stuff you can go through when you give it to God. And even as he's bringing you out and he's helping you, he puts you in a place where you can be a mentor and a guide to other people, because you know where they've been through. And some people worse than me, especially when you grew up in the hood like that and you was raped and you was molested and you was around gang violence, and then those teachers come back and teach and they know what those kids go through. Those be the best teachers. And not just teachers, but people in every arena of life. The youth need you, or whatever you went through that the devil's trying to heal, make you want to kill yourself. He wants to use you to tell those kids that's been bullied of all nationality, don't do it. God brought me through. He made it out. I know some people ain't so big on God, but like, that's the only way. I don't see how people make it without God. If I didn't have God, I would have been dead. Like, life wouldn't be worth living. Jesus is the only reason why I'm still here. He saved my life. I used to think about committing suicide as a teenager because friends used to always walk away from me. I would always end up being by myself. I was different. I would eat by myself in the cafeteria. Even at an art school, I was a reject. I was different. I was by myself. And I was like, I'm not like that. I'm not even that weird. Like, I'm really a cool girl. Like, so it didn't make sense, but it's because God's hand was on me, And so I just need somebody to know that not only does Jesus care for you, but life is worth living because of Jesus. And that thing that the devil wants you to kill yourself or go kill somebody else over because you can't forgive or because they did this, if you give it to Jesus, he will help you to get over it and to be able to work with people in those same situations. So he can, if you let him start working with you and dealing with you and dealing with your heart, he can give you beauty for ashes. He can restore all the years that the canker worm took. If your daddy raped you, if your uncle raped you for years, if the church minister messed around and raped you, whatever these people did, he still wants you to forgive, but he wants to send you back so that you can deal with that population. So you can tell them, no, they were trying to tell you to kill yourself or to kill them or to be in gang violence or to be a prostitute. And God is saying, no, I got more for you. I got better for you. That was never my plan for you. And I'm going to get them if they don't repent, but I still want you to forgive them, because he said, if you don't forgive, I won't forgive you. I just need somebody to know that Jesus is more than able, and he's a miracle worker, and he can turn your darkness into day. He can turn that thing around that was meant to kill you. People was laughing and trying to out you and bless you. So y'all just pray for me. I'm trying to see my way. I want to see my way to the finish line. Let's get my degree right now. Because it's so many years when I'm 33 and I should have already been a teacher. I really should have been in music. I should have been it's like so many things I could have done, and I'm not where I need to be, but I'm here by the grace of God. And even though it's delayed, it's not denied. I know people say, I went back to school at 30. I went back to school at 50, and that encourages me. And people need to know it's never too late to go back and get your degree, to go back and get your GED. It's never too late, no matter what took you out, no matter how, if you was fighting too much, maybe you got pregnant, maybe you quit, maybe you got involved in the street. It's never too late to go back and get your education. It's never too late to go back and get your beauty certificate so you can do hair, so you can cut hair. It's never too late to be a doctor, to be a nurse, to follow your dreams or your God-given passion. That's something that God is putting you to be a help to our brothers and sisters. I'm talking about of every nationality, whether that's a nurse, a teacher, a doctor, or in your community, whatever it is, it's never too late. And of course, it's never too late to give your life to Jesus. And I know y'all Muslims out there, if you're watching this, please know that Jesus loves you, and he's not just a prophet. He's calling you home. He's calling you to him, and that's why he's revealing himself to Muslims in so many dreams. And my goal and my hope is for you that you accept Jesus Christ and that he reveals himself to you, and that your heart is open enough to accept him, because he loves you and he doesn't want any of us, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, ancestral worship, none of us that are following false gods or idols to go to hell. But we ought to pray for each other. Christians, we ought to pray for the lost, and we got to love each other. So y'all pray my strength in the Lord. And happy Black History Month. I hope they see this, because God is able, and he's still working on me. And it's a humbling experience. It's taught me that sometimes, even when you want to say something bad, just keep your mouth, because it ain't worth it. You got to keep your mouth. Because the older people, they patient, they mentors, but I don't really be having a problem with the older people. I don't respect them all day long because they old-fashioned. I'm not going to disrespect them. It be the young people my age. They be the ones on that messy stuff. Not really the older people like that, especially older Black people. They not on that. They mentor, like, they be like, come on in here, honey. Let me show you how to do this. And older Black, like, they going to keep it real with you. They mentors. That's their generation. It's in them. They just real like that. But the young folks, it depends on, it's our generation that's raising these kids, that's making these teachers quit all the time because we don't know how to parent, because we never really grew up. Somebody failed us. Not me. My mom raised me right. But some of us millennials are having kids now. Our kids in elementary, junior high, and teenagers, and they the ones that's making some of our generation quit too, because of who's raising them. It go back to your mentality, how you was raised. If you weren't raised, raising your kids right, it's going to continue, and your kids going to be the one making these teachers quit. Going up here assaulting these teachers, throwing chairs at them, throwing desks at them, cussing them out, choking them, fighting them. Because you're not raising them right. You raising them to be their friend instead of a guide, a parent, so they won't get out there and get killed, so they won't get out there and get in the game. You raising them to, anytime a chick say something, you sideways, go up there and punch her. But this time a chick might have a gun. See, my mama said everything don't deserve a response. She said sometimes you got to ignore people. If you raise a child to any little disagreement, just put up your hand, somebody might shoot them. That's not wise. You have to raise your child to be intelligent, to be mature, to have wisdom. My mom will say sometimes, she said some responses don't even need a response. Just ignore. I had a dean at Jarvis, and she fostered Black excellence. I said, some of these girls out here trying to fight me, Dean so-and-so. So I said, this one big girl, she big and she sloppy. I don't even know her. She want to fight me. And she said, baby, sometimes you got to whoop they so-and-so with intelligence. She said, you already know you can't fight them. She said, you know how full of this and full of that they are. They don't like you. She said, you got to whoop they blank with intelligence. And I said, she right. And my mom said, sometimes you just got to ignore people. Everything don't deserve it. She used to tell me, Zakara, you can't argue with everybody. And you darn sure can't fight because you're trying to bring a fist to a gunfight or a knife fight. And they're going to take you out. Some things ain't worth us keep fussing and fighting for, Black young ladies. We got to stop fighting each other anyway. We should be working together. We should be like Black Mecca in Atlanta, coming together, doing business together. And Black men, stop fighting and hating and downing one another. We got to work together. And then we got to love everybody. But it starts with Christ. When you start with Christ, he's going to teach you how to not just love your own and work with your own, but he's going to teach you how to work with everybody, because he is love, right? And look like heaven. And heaven is a reflection of everybody that is in God's kingdom, when you have Jesus in you, it's going to show you. You may not be perfect, but if you do wrong, you're going to say, hey, Holy Spirit convicted me. I was wrong. Forgive me. Jesus loves y'all, and Jesus saves. Pray my strength in the Lord. God bless y'all, and happy Black History Month. Bye.